have a look at this here. This is my chamber of secrets when it comes to race day memorabilia. In here, I've got probably 5 or 10 years of race bibs and medals, participation medals, everything from a 5K right through to the 10 and the half, the full marathon and the Ironman. But really, I don't do much with them. I stick them in here at the end of the day, into the race day, and I don't really look at them again. I've got a couple of my favorite ones up on the wall there, but most of them are in here. So I've been talking to people at the end of their races when they've got the medal around their neck, and I've been asking them what are some creative things that they do with their race day medal and those race day bibs, rather than just chucking them in a box and letting them collect dust. So here today on Wire Run TV, I'm going to give you the top 5 creative things that I've come across that people have told me about how you can make more out of your race day medal. So let's roll those intros and get this episode of Wire Run TV started. So welcome to episode 9 of Wire Run TV. So yeah, at the end of a big race now, those race day medals and the race day bibs that we get, they're really colourful. Event organisers are putting a lot of effort into designing those medals, and they seem to be getting bigger and bigger, some of them. So they're absolutely amazing, and probably stuffing them in a box like I do isn't the best way to sort of look after those, because they really are a bit of a time travel moment. When you hold that medal in your hand a year or two afterwards, you sort of get a bit of a flashback and you remember what the day was like. And you know, at Wire Run TV, we're all about stories here. So I think holding on to those medals and making sure that we have them handy is a great way that we can talk to our family, we can talk to our friends, we can talk to our kids about it, and just tell them the stories behind the days, about whether the day went really well or whether it didn't. And if we put those in a box and we lock them in a cupboard, we're probably not reflecting on those as much as we should do. So here's my 5th favourite thing in my list that I've seen people do. It's a pretty simple one, and it's one that I love. As runners, we all have a beer, we all have a glass of wine at the end of the race day, and I've seen some people who've been making them into coasters, just cutting up their race bib, tracing around it, sticking it on there, laminating it, and embossing it onto sort of some coasters is a great way that you can preserve these race bibs and bring them out into the family, bring them out into the public a bit. And I think they look quite cool. You can sort of match the different colours, mix and match a little bit, and you can sort of make some beer coasters out of it. So I think that's a really simple and a really cool thing that you can do with your race bibs. Okay, so next in my favourite list of things that people can do with their race medals, in particular this one, is a really cool idea. By taking the lanyard off the race medals, you can actually just attach a magnet to the back of it and they become an awesome fridge magnet. We spend a lot of time in front of the fridge as runners. We're constantly trying to think about the food that we have. So staring at these things and having a bit of a look at them, I think is a really cool way to do it. You can make some tiny little ones out of these ones, or even your bigger medals here. It's something great for the kids to look at when they're at the fridge as well. And I think it's a nice little display. If you've got 15 or 20 of these that you can sort of scatter all over your fridge, I think putting a magnet on the back of them, attaching it with a bit of super glue or some blue tack or something like that, you'll get some pretty good looking attachments and pretty good looking magnets to go on the front of your fridge. So my 3rd favourite idea for what you can do with your medals and your bibs here is for everyone who loves a bit of rehydration. Here is the bottle opener. Putting a bit of super glue on the end of it there, attaching the medal, wrapping the race bib around the frame there, I think gives a really cool and good looking bottle opener, one that you can share at barbecues and things like that. And again, it just gets a bit of talking going, and it gives an opportunity for you to share your stories and share your ideas. So if you're a bit of a beer drinker, or you love to have a bit of a brewski at the end of a race day, I think that's a really cool way to keep safe your medals. So my 2nd favourite thing to do with your race medals, this is a bit of a heavy one, and it's a table ornament. I was at a mate's house and I saw this on their table and I thought that is a really cool idea that you can do. Put some sand in the bottom of it, put some dirt in the bottom of it, do whatever you want to get that base happening, and then you can sort of arrange your medals around in a circle, stick them into the sand, and it ends up looking like a really cool centerpiece. You got all the colours from the medals, you got all the colours from the lanyards, and they just blend together really well. This one took me a while to make because there must be 15 or 20 medals in there, and every time I took one out I had to have a bit of a think about where it was from, and I remembered the race. So this, I think, is it's very, very close to my favourite thing, but it is my number 2 on the list of things that you can do. So maybe it's an idea if you're a bit bored of the table ornament that you've got, and it's a great thing for the kids to look at when they're doing their homework or they're eating their afternoon tea or things like that. So yeah, have a crack at this one. Alright, so my favourite thing that I've seen people do with their race bibs and race medals, this one is all about the race bib, and it's all about using the colours and the numbers and things like that. I actually saw this one on Pinterest and I thought it was absolutely incredible. So grabbing any of the letters that you can get from your stationery stores, any of the random letters, you can spell out any particular word that you want. And just by attaching all of your race bibs, different colours and things like that, and looking at the numbers, you can spell kind of whatever word that you want. I think it's a really cool way of doing it. And a really creative way. It takes a little bit of time, but it's a good one that you can sit down with the kids and have a bit of a go at. So this is my favourite thing that I've seen people do with their race bibs and race medals and things like that. And I think once this is put up, maybe on the sort of the shelf behind me, it'll look really, really good. You can spell any particular word that you want. You could do run, you could do marathon, you could do 42.2 or 21.1 or 10K, anything like that. Spell your own name. I think it's a really cool way to actually present your race bibs. For me, during this whole process of making these ones, whether it was the table ornament or whether it was these the letters here, or whether it was making the bottle opener or the fridge magnets, it really was a great chance for me to actually get hold of those medals that have maybe sat in a drawer for 5 or 6 or 7 years. Had a look at those race bibs. I even wrote some of my times on the back of them, or the place that I got in the race all those years ago. And it really was an awesome experience just to travel back in time and look at that medal again and feel what it was like. And it certainly has given me a bit more of a motivation to race again. In one of the previous episodes of Why I Run TV, I said racing is so important, and that's got to be reiterated to me today when I've looked through all these different medals and you think, wow, this is a huge part of my life. Running is a massive part of my life, and we need to celebrate it, and we need to sort of be proud of the things that we've achieved, whether it was just a finishing medal or whether it was actually a podium or a place medal, to actually put these up on display somewhere so that our kids can draw inspiration from them, our families can, and our friends. So hopefully you can spend a bit of time and maybe use 1 or 2 of these ideas of that I've shown you to sort of create some interesting race day memorabilia sort of things for yourself. So guys and girls, there we are for episode 9 of Why I Run TV. A little bit of a different one this week, a bit more of a creative, artsy kind of one, but hopefully you might have got a few ideas, something that you can sit down with the kids or the family and have a bit of a craft afternoon, maybe on one of those rainy days, and do something with those medals, even just a chance for you to get those medals out, have a bit of a think about them. If you've got any really creative ideas or you have a bit of a go at any of these, I'd love to hear what you've done with them. Put a little comment in the description below or send us a little picture, a little photo, and I'd love to see, particularly if you've got any other different ideas. Apologies for the big England flag behind me. We are in the semi-finals of the World Cup. I was born in England all those years ago and I've lived a life in Australia, but I love supporting my English Lions. So for the first time in 38 years, we're actually in the semi-finals of the World Cup. So it's a huge week coming up. If you're a football fan, I know you'll be right behind the semis and the final next week. If you've got a big week of running, good luck with your training. Hopefully you get plenty of rest and plenty of recovery and you eat well and you sleep well. And we'll catch you for our final episode of Why I Run TV for season 1 next week. Have a great week.